So, so as people know, gerrymandering largely, historically has been utilized by Republicans very heavily. Democrats have done it too, but to a much lesser extent. And recently, the Voting Rights Act was essentially overturned by the Supreme Court, or I mean, pretty much. It's pretty much overturned. Like, basically, you're not allowed to force a district to have some representation for a minority demographic, right? Like, so for instance, if your state has, let's say your state has like 20% black people. Let's say that that's the case, right? Under the Voting Rights Act, before, you would be required to have some form of representation for that 20% of your population. It doesn't necessarily have to be like exactly 20% of the representatives have to be that demographic or anything. It's just that you have to have some representation for that people, and therefore, like, courts could reject gerrymandering based on those grounds and all of that sort of stuff. That's all gone now. So black people are going to be disenfranchised at an unprecedented rate going forward. And like, that's started this whole process of like a race to the bottom. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. Obviously, I wish that we just had a more democratic system for creating these maps. Like, honestly, I just wish that like I don't know what the best process would be. Independent commissions would probably be the easiest, but also if honestly you could just like put up the maps on a ballot measure or something and let people vote on whether they accept a redistricting effort or not. Something along those lines as well could potentially work. But anyway, since that happened, though, all of the red states are going crazy. They're trying to get out there and see who they're gonna like compete with each other to see who can disenfranchise black people more. So I think DeSantis in Florida recently did some gerrymandering along those lines. And so this is a video from MS Now. It says, "Make them pay for this. Florida Dem vows challenge to DeSantis's gerrymandered map." Let's see what they have to say.
Republicans are expecting to clinch 4 more seats in Florida after the state legislature passed a new congressional map this week, boosting GOP chances ahead of the midterms. The move comes just hours after the Supreme Court struck down parts of the Voting Rights Act in Louisiana, escalating the standoff between Democrats and Republicans as several states now look to redraw their lines.
They try to do everything that they can to eliminate and erase our journey. But guess what, extremists? We're still here. That's right. And we're not going anywhere.
Last week, he threatened Florida and said that if somehow we went through with a map that, you know, we were going to have hell to pay, he was going to come down and we were going to pay the price somehow. Those threats do not work on me. And so we released the map.
This is one of those things, like, man, he is so Rizless, dude. He is the dorkiest little goober I've ever seen, man.
Pay the price
His little facial expressions, man.
Florida and said that if somehow we went through with a map that, you know, we were going to have hell to pay, he was going to come down and we were going to pay the price somehow. Those threats do not work on me. And so we released the map on Monday. The legislature passed it on Wednesday, and that is that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, you know, we're going to get a lot of this going forward with red states. My argument is just Democrats do the same thing. Like, we're past it now. There's nothing you can do at this point. You have to do the same thing. And not only do the same thing, do it worse. Like, I would say every state that has a blue legislature, like a blue state or whatever, or even purple states, or if any state ever becomes blue in the future, you put all Republicans into a single district. 1 district for Republicans, 30 for Democrats. Like, every single state, just do that. That would be my recommendation to Democrats. The thing about them doing this is that they're already gerrymandered to all hell. There's only so much gerrymandering you can do. Most Republican states are already like very, very gerrymandered. This is like, you know, more, right? Like he's saying 4 more states or 4 more seats. we'll see. The Republicans are getting more and more unpopular by the day as they govern and people's lives continue to get worse. But that's what they're saying, right? Democrats historically have not gerrymandered that much, relatively, to the Republican Party, so they have a lot more that they can do. And like I said, just do it like insano mode. Like you see all of these like congressional districts that they have here that are all contiguous like things of red. Like if I were the state legislature and I was going to be combating other states, and let's say I was the state legislature of Florida, and it was not a red state, like we had blue control over the governorship and the various the people who determine the maps or whatever. What I would do is see all of these districts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like all of this entire thing, the entire state, that would all be one district. That would be red. That would be the one red district. And then I would take all of those seats, those 20 seats or whatever, I would just pump them into these blue areas. Like I would just pump they would all be tiny little districts in the blue areas that all get a representative, and then it would be 30 blue seats and 1 red seat from Florida. Like that's how I would do it if I were them. Because we're living in this no hold bars like world. Who cares at this point? Like you just got to make it impossible for them to like you just have to get down in the mud at this point. And then eventually maybe someday we'll get a better system that doesn't disenfranchise fucking everybody.
The legislature passed it on Wednesday, and that is that.
That is that.
Joining me now is Nikki Fried, lawyer and chair of the Florida Democratic Party. So is that now? I'm curious your reaction to the escalating feud between House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, because despite Jeffries' promise of maximum warfare against Republican redistricting efforts, and given its passage in the Florida House and Senate, can Democrats do anything to stop it from taking effect?
Well, thanks for having me on, Alex. And no, that is not that. The reality is that people don't understand across the entire country is that Florida in 2010 passed what we call the Fair Districts Amendment, which mandates that the Florida legislature and the governor cannot draw maps on partisan lines. And so already here in the state of Florida, we have been overperforming the national average by 17 points to the left, flipping 29 seats throughout the entire state from 25 to in 2025 and 2026. And we were already positioning ourselves to not only return all 8 of our members of our Democratic congressional delegation, but also flipping a tremendous amount of seats. And as you see on that map that you're showing right now, that is the map that Ron DeSantis went on to Fox News the day before the actual start of the special session, color-coded map, red and blue, talking about voter registration. This is a direct violation of the Florida Constitution. So there will be lawsuits filed, and there is still an attempt at the Florida Supreme Court.
I'm not so sure it's gonna go anywhere, man. Law is also like political. Like it is politicized. It doesn't really matter. Like if their state judiciary or whatever is like Republican operated, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I would say that there might honestly not be much that Florida can do in this regard. The only thing obviously is like, I mean, I think that all of these things where they have them as like lean red, I think that they could be wrong on that. That's the main thing, is I think that the unpopularity of the Republican Party like currently means that like, yes, they're trying to do this based on like polling and registration and all that sort of stuff. But as the Republican Party continues to eviscerate the working class, like people, like I think a lot of these could end up flipping blue, like unexpectedly, in like the dummy mander, as they've been calling it. But who knows for sure, honestly. But what I was saying though is primarily the judiciary. I don't think the judiciary is going to save us, man. I really, I don't know. I've lost a lot of faith in like things like independent judiciaries or like institutions being able to actually to like stop these sorts of like stop the like Republicans trying to entrench their rule forever, right? I've lost a lot of hope because they are fundamentally all of these institutions are also aligned with the same forces that are behind the GOP, which is like capital and like billionaires, right? So I'm not, I don't have a whole lot of hope in that. I do have hope in the people. I think the people, as they continue to organize and all that good stuff, will be able to fight back from like a labor perspective. I think that that's like our best hope. But I've lost like so much faith in our institutions and being able to prevent to prevent fascism from like being brought forth. Like I just don't have that much faith anymore.
To make sure that we uphold the Fair Districts Amendment that the people of the state of Florida passed by almost 70% in 2010.
Are you confident that a court battle will keep this from being implemented?
Look, as you indicated, I'm an attorney practicing law for almost 25 years, and I always want to think that the justice system upholds fairness and law and order. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court, 6 of the justices have been appointed by Ron DeSantis. The 7th was appointed by a previous Republican.
And the problem, these fucking libs, man, I swear to God. The judiciary has always been political. It has always been a political body. It has always been making political decisions based on, like, just based on political. I don't know. Like it is a political body. There is no such thing as an impartial judiciary. There is no such thing as objective interpretation of law. It is always subjective, and it is always based on the political climate and the times that we are living through. That's just like. That's one thing that frustrates me about like liberals in particular is I feel like they think that there is some sort of like objectivity to like things like law and our institutions and all that sort of stuff, and it's just not the case, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Governor.
What matters more is just attaining power in those institutions and maintaining that power in those institutions. That's why like we would go back to like RGB or RBG or whatever, Ruth Bader Ginsburg refusing to step down under Obama and then dying in office and then leading to this entire situation because she didn't want to play the game. She didn't want to try to attain like just standard normie liberal power in the court. She didn't think it would be fair to do that. Like she wanted it to be some sort of impartial body, and liberals also did that in their court decisions a lot too, where they want to appear fair, so they will side with like conservatives and stuff, as opposed to understanding that the judiciary is just another like ideological battleground that has to be won. You need to build power and maintain power in it if you want to maintain these organizations like in any sort of meaningful way. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, whatever.
The court is definitely stacked against us. But unfortunately for Ron DeSantis and the Republican Party, the law is the law, and the Constitution in the state of Florida is very clear.
The law is not the law. The law is subject to the interpretation of whoever holds political power at the time.
That district lines cannot be drawn on partisan manners. Even if these maps uphold, the fact of the matter is they water down all of their red districts. We have incredible candidates that are running up and down our state, all the way from.
That's what I've been saying, is that this is possible that it could backfire. I'm not going to say for sure that it's going to, but it is possible that making all of these lean red districts could backfire just due to the sheer unpopularity of the Republican Party.
Congressional District 1 all the way down to 28. Some are veterans, first responders, Teach for America alumni, teachers, and just everyday Floridians that are tired of the chaos in Washington, D.C. They're tired of the fact that just like every other Floridian, they can't afford their groceries. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford their property insurance, utility bills, and everything that goes on here in the state of Florida.
So doing the numbers here, Republicans are looking at a potential gain 4 seats, moving to a 24-4 majority despite this map redraw. It could put several Republican seats at risk because GOP gerrymandering spread Republicans too thin across the state.
Yep, absolutely. And what we have seen is that districts that were, in fact, R plus 34 are now R plus 11, R plus 12. And again, since we've been overperforming the national average and movement left at 17 points, we flipped the city of Miami, we flipped Mar-a-Lago, Tampa Bay area, Escambia County for the first time in almost 30, 40 years. So the fact of the matter is people in the state of Florida, Democrats, Republicans, and independents don't like this, that even the polling today shows overwhelming support for nonpartisan maps and overwhelming support to vote out any of these legislators that voted for these maps. So we're pretty confident that the work that's been happening on the ground here in the state of Florida, the overhand played by the Republicans and by Ron DeSantis, who is gleeful today that he intentionally violated the Florida Constitution, this is going to have a reckoning in November. We are ready. We are organized on the ground, and we're going to make them pay for this.
It could. That my qualm is always with Democrats putting up shitty candidates. If you put up like centrist ass corporate Democrats, then you're not going to win those seats. If you put up populists, like left populists, is my preference, but if you put up some sort of populist or someone who has like a real vision for economic change in these districts, then you might have a chance. I also have so little faith with the Democratic Party that I'm like, I don't know, man, maybe, I never bet on Democrats not to drop the ball, right? Like when it comes to like the blue wave that we should get like in the midterms, and I think that we probably will get some form of it. The Democrats will do everything in their power to mitigate that because they honestly don't want to have too much power. Like if they want to limit the amount that they win by. The ideal situation for Democrats is that they are the opposition party with just enough votes to stop like the absolute worst parts of the Republican agenda, but allow the rest of them through. Like that's the ideal situation for the Democratic Party in terms of like their leadership and what they want. So yeah, I don't know, man. Good luck with your lawsuits. I don't have a lot of faith that that's going to go anywhere.